It's another Do Laundry with me today, and so get a cup of coffee or bring your own laundry. Let's fold it together and let's talk about a few things today. So today I wanted to talk about how certain brands make me feel. And we're not going to go through all the brands because obviously there's a lot, but maybe we can sort of go through different brands through different video series of Do Laundry with me. And we can sort of have a conversation about how certain brands make us feel, my impressions on some of these brands' products, even their customer service. So share with me in the comments if you have any opinions on any of these brands. Today I wanted to talk about Loewe and Chanel. Before we start talking about some of these brands specifically, I wanted to share something crazy that I did, and I won't go too much into it because there's not a whole lot to tell, but I did something really crazy. It is something that is so far out of my comfort zone and so crazy, something I don't think normal people do like myself, but okay, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I'm gonna tell you what I did. I signed up for an improv course. Like, why did I sign up for an improv course? Why did I sign up for an improv course? Okay, so there's a couple of reasons. Okay, so we're gonna have to backtrack a couple of years because there was a point as I look back on it that planted a seed in me about improv. And so a couple of years ago, I remember I was listening to an audiobook with my kids in the car. And the audiobook in particular that I'm referring to is called Crying Laughing. And it's like a really cute tween book that we listen to together. Anyway, long story short, there is a main character in there who is in high school and she joins the school's improv team or improv club after school, and there's a cute boy there and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, there was a point in a story where I actually thought to myself, I was like, oh, improv has technique. I didn't know that. I thought if you did improv, you were just naturally funny, you were naturally witty and clever and quick. And yes, I guess there is definitely some elements to that for sure. But I didn't realize that there was actual method to it. I didn't realize that there was actual technique to it. And so I just remember thinking like, oh, that's very interesting. So anyway, that's I think what planted the seed in me. I do listen to some comedians on podcasts who do improvisation, and I think they're hilarious and things like that. So that's always something that kind of piques my interest. But I am not taking an improv course because I'm trying to be a comedian or funny or witty or anything like that. So there's two very personal reasons why I decided to sign up for this improv course. The first reason is because, well, when you have a YouTube channel, you have the benefit of looking back at your footage during the editing process and really coming to realizations and self-reflection points where you can look at yourself and be like, wow, I'm really inarticulate. I have real trouble kind of organizing my thoughts sometimes and getting the words out. I have trouble, I just trip over my words often. I find myself repeating things over and over again to refilm. It's just, I'm not that fluid in my speech, I feel like, and I don't really know why. And it's not something I really realized until I looked back during the editing process of having a channel. So that was one realization. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe it can help me with my communication skills. The second reason, and probably the main reason of why I decided to just bite the bullet and do it and sign up for an improv course, is so that I can be a little bit less awkward. Yeah, I can be pretty awkward, I feel like, in my own skin sometimes. I'm less awkward when it comes to, just talking and speaking with my friends or people I know or people that I'm comfortable with. I'm much more awkward and uncomfortable when I'm speaking to strangers, people I don't know very well, and that sort of thing. So I do find that as I'm getting older, I've become a lot more introverted than I used to be. And so therefore, I feel like I have less to say. And so I thought, okay, improv can potentially help me with this issue. And it's one of those things where when I'm talking to someone I don't know, I can do very limited small talk. I'm very bad at chit chat and sort of the small superficial talk. When I get to know someone, I really like to deep dive and have those very deep conversations. I like to get to know people and that sort of thing. But when you're not in those kinds of situations and it's not appropriate to have those kinds of conversations, I'm much more awkward. And so after I talk about the weather, maybe vacations that we've been on, and oh, what vacations are you going on? Or oh, I've been there, I haven't been there, I'd love to visit. Those sorts of superficial conversations that you have with people that you don't know, I've got nothing else to say. Like, I've literally have nothing else to say, and I have, you know, you can call me mute. I've got nothing else to give. And it is very hard for me to feel comfortable having a conversation beyond that. So it's one of those things where I feel super awkward. And so I thought, okay, this is a really good way and life skill for me to learn, yes, this late in life, to have conversation with strangers and be more comfortable in my skin potentially. So really, in the end, it's about sort of improving my communication skills. It is a 4-week intro to improv course. I signed up for it. It's for the entire month of June. I've already done my first class. My second class is tonight, but I will say the first class was amazing. It was so much fun. It was like a 2-hour course. It's not like a 2-hour lecture course where you're just sitting there taking notes. It's a very interactive class. We're all participating at all times throughout the entire 2 hours. So, you know, it starts off with these, you know, fun icebreakers, but it gradually changes into something where by the end of the 2 hours, we were doing very short improv. And, you know, yes, there were like one-liner improvs. You were doing exchanges on improv by the end of the 2 hours in my first class. And you didn't even realize you were doing it until you left the course and you were like, oh my God, it was so gradual. It was a very safe place. It was with, you know, 12 other people. It was really fun. It was really fun. And who knows, like after the 4 weeks is over and I'm done with the courses, I may continue to do it because there's a lot of other improv courses that they do offer outside of the intro class. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll keep you posted if at all you're interested in hearing about that journey. But I just thought it would be something fun to share with you guys, something totally different that I'm doing. I don't know, I'm really excited. I'm just very excited about it. So we'll see. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about are the brands, specifically Loewe and Chanel, and how they make us feel. I picked these two to start with because I feel like they're very popular in very different ways. Chanel obviously has been around for a really long time and has, you know, I would say cult following. Oh my gosh, why do I have so many? I have 4 Relay for Life t-shirts from the kids. If you're wondering why I have so many Relay for Life t-shirts, it's because the kids just participated in a run. Anyway, Chanel, I think, has a very cult following and obviously has been around for a long time. But let's talk about that later just because it's a little bit of a spicier topic. But let's talk about Loewe, because if you haven't seen already, by now I've released my Loewe shopping vlog where I went to Barcelona and I showed you around the store and some of the new pieces that they had, and also came away with a really special handbag. So that was my first experience with Loewe. I've seen things in various department stores before, and so it's not like I've never seen any of their products, but it is the first time that I really took the time to actually see all of their products that they had this time around, and it was something that I found really interesting. Now, I don't know how long Loewe's been around, so enlighten me in the comments if you do know, but I will say what I love about the brand is that it can be very understated, and I know it's not all understated because there is Loewe printed on some of their big totes and bags and things like that. So I feel like Loewe has such a wide range of products. And by that I mean, like, it can range from very fun and quirky, like their elephant bags or their bird bags, or even some of their puzzle totes, which folds down flat into nothing. Like those kinds of things I feel like can be very quirky and interesting. But they also fall onto the other side of the range, which is much more refined and much more understated, but really high quality. Like their leather is very luscious, very supple, very substantial, and their finishes are just beautiful in my opinion. And so the quality is there. And I think for like a luxury brand like that, which I do think is very expensive, by the way, is very expensive, I do think that the quality is there and hopefully it continues to stay there, because we all know that sometimes a lot of brands start to fall short once they have like a cult following and they're trying to save some money. I think we've all seen after a while certain brands start to really cut corners and really skimp on quality. And you know, it's kind of like the whole concept of shrinkflation. Like, you're not getting the same bag of chips with the same amount of chips inside. It's mostly air and you're paying a lot more. So it's that whole shrinkflation concept that really, especially at these price points, is really, really irritating. So I really sincerely hope that Loewe doesn't go down that route, because I really feel like their quality is there, and I just find the brand really exciting. And I know the puzzle bags are obviously really popular for Loewe and one of their probably biggest sellers. The puzzle bag doesn't really speak to me necessarily, unless it's like the mini size or unless it's the raffia, because that was actually so beautiful. But I can see and appreciate its beauty because it's so different. It's very unique and it's still very functional, and I love that. So even though all the bags don't necessarily ring true to my style necessarily, I can really appreciate them, and I love that. And I just love how understated it is, how fun it is, how refined it is, and really that's what stands out for me for the brand. So tell me how you guys feel about Loewe and what kind of bags you have from them and your experience with them. I will say the customer service was fantastic too. I had no complaints. The lady that helped me was fabulous. She was more than happy to share with me and show me all the bags that I wanted to see and try on. And I was literally in the store browsing all of their bags because I wanted to see it all. I wanted to experience it all, and she was very patient. As far as customer service goes, and I know it can vary from store to store and from person to person, obviously, but I will say my experience has been lovely, and I have nothing but good things to say. Now, let's contrast that conversation with Chanel. So Chanel, as I said, obviously has very much of a loyal following, although it does seem like there's a lot of people who are falling off that bandwagon of loyalty. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about the deteriorating quality, and coupling that with the increased prices, and not only just maybe once a year price increases, but sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, which is absolutely insane. And the price increases are like 15% usually on average. So that's also insane. So where the hardware used to be once upon a time gold plated, that's no longer. The leathers are super delicate that you almost are afraid to handle them. So it's those kinds of things where the quality is definitely deteriorating. But let's talk about customer service also. You know, never mind the price increases, which are infuriating. Coupled with all of those issues, the customer service can be really hit or miss. Now, I've had varied experiences, but I've had 2 customer service experiences that have been really, really bad. The first one was at a boutique where I was in the boutique and I was looking for my first Chanel brooch, and I knew exactly which one I wanted. So I went in, like one thing about me is that normally I do a lot of research before I go in. I know I'm not someone who goes in and I'm like, no idea what I want, I'm just looking, and it takes me forever to figure stuff out, and I'm hemming and hawing on things. Like, I'm pretty decisive. I do my research beforehand so that I know what I'm looking for when I go in, because I don't want to waste people's time. So that's one thing to know. So I went into this store and I was looking for a very specific brooch that I had seen online. I wanted to purchase it. I went to the lady, and the lady who was serving me, was so unhelpful. Okay, there's just no other way to put it. So I'm not looking for a handbag. Again, it's a tiny little brooch. So when I showed her the picture of the brooch that I wanted, she's like, yep, I have it. So she pulled it out and she's like, which size do you want? And I didn't realize it came in 2 sizes. It came in a small and a large size. And I was like, oh, did not know. I had not considered that because I had no idea I had options on sizes. So that kind of threw me for a loop. And the way that she was, again, this was the fastest transaction ever, but the way that she was so aloof didn't care. No, like she had the tray out and she was like looking anywhere but at me, and so looked very annoyed, looked like I was wasting her time. She was very impatient and just like, well, which one do you want? And I was like, oh, I hadn't even considered the size. I'm like, I didn't know. So I was like trying them both on, and I was like, oh, I don't really know, because again, I didn't give it that much thought. I didn't know I had options, and I was really on the fence. And I think if you're coming from a salesperson perspective, if you're a good salesperson, in my opinion, I think the right response of a salesperson would have been like, oh, well, a small brooch would be good for these types of occasions or these types of looks or these types of outfits, and a larger brooch might be better for these kinds of things or these. And it didn't occur to me that that's what she should have done until after the fact, after I'd left, because I really felt like she was so impatient. I really did feel like there was a gun to my head, and I really needed to choose and make a choice, because she was like, make a decision, figure it out, tell me what you want. I want to get you in and out, and that was it. And so I was like, but in retrospect, I think she should have said something to the effect of, oh, well, a bigger brooch would be nice on a coat if that's how you want to wear it. A smaller brooch might be good on a sweater if that's how you, or whatever. Like, she should have given me some ideas of how to wear it and what the differences might have been, because at the time I had no idea. And so I walked away with the smaller one, and I regretted it because I should have gotten the larger one, because several years later, I went back and I got a different brooch that was a much larger one. Had I just gotten the larger one to begin with, and maybe if she had given me some ideas of how I wanted to wear it, then I would have just gotten the larger one. I would have been done. I never would have gotten a second one. I don't think she really did her job very well, but more than that, I think the impatience factor of just her holding the tray and being like, what do you want? And just kind of like looking around and not giving me the time of day or even talking with me about my options put a really bad taste in my mouth. And again, really wasted my money, because I, in the end, got 2 brooches and I only really needed one big one. Anyway, that was one bad experience. But the worst experience of all, and I've already said this in my Chanel collection video, there was one experience in New York where I was looking for a bag. Again, I knew exactly what kind of bag I was looking for. I knew the colorway, I knew what I was searching for, and I knew it was a mini and a mini square. So when I got to the store, I had asked them if they had this bag. They had it, and I was so excited, but it was the Cocoa Crush. I don't know if that's what it's called. Cocoa Crush, Pearl Crush, I have no idea. But it's with the ball, and it's adjustable with the chain strap, so you can adjust the length on the chain. Now, in theory, that would be a great idea, but I didn't like the mechanism of the ball. And that's what I was really on the fence for. Also, the leather was so dry. It felt very dry. Like, it really felt like it needed a big glass of water, and it needed some nourishing, and I was so worried about how delicate the leather was. And so I was just like, oh, I don't know. And she was very rude, and she, while I was still kind of considering it, she was like, so how do you want to pay? And I'm like, how do I want to pay? Like, I'm still looking at the bag. Like, I'm still trying it on, and you're telling me, like, how do you want to pay? And I didn't even know how to respond in that moment, because I was so caught off guard. I thought it was so abrupt, so rude. And it was clear that she was just like, she just wanted me in and out and just wanted to make the sale. So I was like, I didn't know how to respond. So I honestly just ignored her, and I pretended I didn't hear her. So that was bad. But the worst part of it was when I was still considering it, I was like, all right, well, let me call my husband, because I want to get his blessing. And she laughs, and she's like, oh, you need Santa Claus? I couldn't believe she said that. Like, I honestly could not believe she said, do you need Santa Claus? That to me was so beyond, so beyond, okay? I mean, really, there's no other words, but I was thinking, no, bitch, like, I'm buying this bag myself. I want to call my husband to get his blessing, because that's what we do out of respect. That's what we do in our relationship. This is a high ticket item that costs a lot of money, and out of respect, he and I both do the same thing. If he wants to buy something very expensive, he does the same to me, and he runs it by me out of respect. Just as I do that to him out of respect. I don't need to explain to you where the money's coming from, who's paying for it. I don't need to explain myself to anyone but especially her. And that response was so beyond comprehension that I couldn't even believe how rude she was. And the judgment that came from that one thing that I said. And let's just say that my husband was paying for it. So, and what? And what? Please tell me. What would be the problem with my husband wanting to buy the bag if he had been wanting to buy the bag for me at that time? Which he wasn't, by the way, but let's just say he was treating me. There is nothing wrong with that. And the judgment that came from that lady was so beyond infuriating that it put the worst taste in my mouth. And you know, sometimes when you buy something like a Chanel bag, it's very exciting. It should be exciting. It should be a great experience. And that experience should follow you home, and it should be so delightful, and you should be giddy with excitement when you open the bag when you get home. And instead, that experience followed me home, and I opened the bag at home and I'm like, ugh. Like there's something about having a wonderful experience, about buying something, bringing it home, and having that experience follow you. And when that negativity follows you back, it almost you associate that negativity with that bag. Now, because that lady meant nothing to me, and because I didn't care about her opinions at the end of the day, I didn't allow it to sour my experience of having the bag, if that makes any sense. Like, it didn't taint the bag for me. And so I can still enjoy the bag. However, I will say when I brought it home and opening it up again, I was like, ugh, it was just gross. And so when you have that kind of experience, and then you go into another Chanel boutique, whether it be a totally different city, location, store, person that's helping you, you can't help but have that experience follow you. And you can't help but kind of walk in with an air of defensiveness of like, what are you looking at me for? What do you want? Like, I think when you go into any kind of high-end store or designer store or luxury brand store like that, I think sometimes some of us might walk in with a little bit of like, are you judging me? Are you judging me by the way I'm dressed? Because the way you dress really should have nothing to do with anything, because you have the same amount of money in your pocket or in your bank account, whether you're wearing a beautiful dress or a sloppy t-shirt with a stain on it, right? Like, it has no bearing on what you're willing to spend based on how you look. But of course, people are passing judgment all day. So that is what happens, unfortunately, unless you come across someone who happens to be really lovely. And that can happen, of course. So I'm not saying all Chanel is like that. I'm not saying that all salespeople are like that. There are plenty of lovely ones out there that I too have come across. But I am just sharing the two horrible ones because they really do leave a bad taste in your mouth, and that is unfortunate. Be nice, show people some respect, and that's all it really comes down to. So let me know your experience with some of these brands, these products, but also let me know what your experience has been with Loewe and your experience with Chanel. As far as products go, as far as quality goes, and as far as customer service goes. Okay, we're down to 2 mismatched pairs of socks. If you enjoy this format of video, let me know. I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Tell me if you enjoy talking about these different brands and how they make you feel. If you did enjoy it, maybe we can talk about a couple more brands in my next Do Laundry With Me video. Let me know if you're interested in hearing about my improv journey. If you want an update on it, maybe I can give you an update on my next Do Laundry With Me. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love it if you could give it the thumbs up. That really helps my small channel out. If you enjoyed this video, then go binge watch some of my other videos here, and I will see you next time.